Gamecocks looking for a third trip to the Final Four in the last 6 years. And for Texas, it would be a first time since 2003 in the days of Hall of Fame head coach Jody Conrad. Home whites for the top seed in the region, South Carolina, the burnt orange of Texas.
Gritty, determined, ball pressure defenses. That's what you're going to see out of both of these clubs tonight. And whoever can take care of the basketball the best is going to have the best chance to win.
Victoria Saxton, the 6'2" junior from Rome, gets the first bucket. The Capital One starting lineup for Texas. The guard play in the postseason, sensational with Taylor, Alan Taylor, and the floor general Kyra Lambert. And there is Audrey Warren off the bounce.
Essentially, it's Charlie Collier and a four-guard lineup for Vic Schaefer. A little more size and more depth on the front line for South Carolina.
Capital One starting lineup for South Carolina. Cook hit 5 threes in the Sweet 16 win over Georgia Tech. And Saxton already with a pair of double-digit scoring games. Both of these sides rely heavily on these starting fives for their scoring.
And there's the first win for Aaliyah Boston defensively on Charlie Collier. You see that one-on-one matchup is going to be special to keep your eye on.
Boston arriving on the heels of the departure of Asia Wilson, the person that led them to the national championship, as Saxton scores again.
Great clear out. They run the pass-through screen. They get Saxton the ball on the elbow against Warren. That's a matchup that Saxton can win with her size and her ability off the bounce.
All 6 points here early on as she opens up 3 for 3. Here is Lambert wearing that knee brace. She's bounced back from a couple of knee injuries. Back home in San Antonio after starting her career at Duke.
You wonder if Texas can raise their emotional level and their defensive effort the way they took down the top offense in the country in Maryland, one of the most historic, best offenses in the history of our game. And they held them to 61 points, Maryland.
30 points below their average. Right now they got a problem with Victoria Saxton, who's got all 8 points. Off the bounce, wild shot. Saxton with the rebound and the push for Destiny Henderson and the blow by. And perhaps there are some after effects, Debbie, of back-to-back wins over the 3 seed and the 2 seed and struggling against the top seed tonight.
Rebound and run. A great recipe all year that has fueled Dawn Staley's team to the #1 seed in this tournament.
The NCAA Women's Championship is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Well, South Carolina offensively has not missed from the floor. 5 for 5, and Saxton has 4 of them. She gets caught right here with a miscommunication defensively. She gets a seal and a post-up against a smaller defender. How about a little ISO on the elbow? Saxton doing her job, making herself available on penetration. What a great start for South Carolina.
First 3 games, 13 points per game, already with 8 in the first 2:22 for a player that Dawn Staley says is low maintenance and high performance. She just shows up and goes to work, and that's what she's been doing tonight.
And then when they bring Ami here in, that's a different element to counter what Boston can do. It's just a nice complement and nice depth inside. And another turnover.
With a nice defensive play on Saxton and a foul as Texas tries to slow down the South Carolina break. That'll be on Alan Taylor. Missed it on the inbounds. Here comes Lambert.
Kyra Lambert, graduate transfer from Duke. Vic Schaefer can't speak her praise enough about how she's managed the game for them and wishes that he had her for more than just 1 year. He might, though. She could come back.
Boston gets the shot block. Trying to set Aaliyah up inside as the mismatch on Ebo, and they are eating them up down low. 10-0 run.
You know, we mentioned it at the beginning. You wonder if Texas could raise their emotional level based on how they arrived here with the huge upset over Maryland the other night.
Every shot contested by this Carolina defense. Cook finds a lane. Around and out, Saxton boards. They'll kick it back out. They don't shoot a ton of threes, but they hit a bunch of them in the Sweet 16 win. 8 to be exact. And that's the number on the shot clock. The runner along the baseline won't drop for Henderson.
But you know, right now, South Carolina hasn't taken a bad shot. They're getting what they want offensively. Vic Schaefer's defense hasn't been able to take anything away yet.
See if they can get something for Collier here. Off the mark. Cook immediately runs with it, goes to the left, and the flip up and in.
Here's when you know that you know how to play. Cook runs right up the backside of Charlie Collier, knowing that that is a tough matchup to turn around in transition and defend. That is a high-level play right there by Cook.
It's a 12-0 run. Collier, Boston defending, uses the window for 2. First basket for Charlie.
And remember, Texas was down 9-0 to Maryland and came back.
Well, Vic Schaefer said we took a punch and then we punched back. And they knocked out the 2 seed in the region. Beal off the bounce. Collier with the block. And that's gonna go to Texas.
And watch Zia Cook get the rebound and watch her up the floor, right up the backside of Charlie Collier. Makes Alan Taylor have to go under that in transition to try to get in front. That's a smart play.
Celeste Taylor, sophomore out of Valley Stream, New York. Boston sent that back. Joanne Allen Taylor, nice crossover. Rebound Beal immediately looks to Henderson, and here they come again. Lambert could not stay in bounds.
Beth, South Carolina plus 15 on the glass, which is the 3rd best rebounding margin in the country. So staying on the boards will be critical for Vic Schaefer's team.
Already twice as many of those for Dawn Staley's team. They have not been out-rebounded in a game this season. And Saxton walks with it.
Well, what crowd we have in here is all Texas, sprinkled around the entire inside of the Alamo Dome. And that's another level of pressure, you know, playing at home, the emotions of a bunch of Texas kids. Something that you dream about, going to the Final Four.
And Vic Schaefer downplayed it when we talked to him today, but you know it would be special as Texas turns it over. They are the last Texans standing. A&M is out, Baylor is out, and for a first-year head coach wanting to establish recruiting in the state of Texas, this would be huge for the program moving forward.
Day one, Beth. Yeah. I mean, he got the job in April. He didn't get a chance to work with his kids one-on-one until they got to July. They didn't even get any 5-on-5 until closer to September.
Cook now. It's been 10 years since that Notre Dame team in Indianapolis was in the Final Four that a team has played in its home state in the national semifinals. It's only happened twice that a team has won the title in their home state. As Cook gets the strip, it's a foot race and couldn't hang on.
Cook would love to have that one back. One of 6 high school All-Americans for Dawn Staley on this team. And Dawn Staley has done a remarkable job. A 2017 national championship for South Carolina. Of course, Asia Wilson was a big part of that. Got a nice statue in front of Colonial Life Arena.
They are forcing some tough shots as this Carolina defense around and out. Texas Slow start, they're under 20% shooting. Just 2 of 12.
Look at Boston handling at 6'5", facilitating, telling players to move and cut, get out of the way.
Get out of the
going
way,
in.
here she goes, and a blocking foul called underneath. She tried to go around Charlie Collier, the 2 big girls here in the first quarter, each with a basket.
It's an advantage when your big has the IQ like a guard. And I mean, reading the floor, reading space, being able to make a play facing up. Certainly on the defensive end, on the back row.
LaChina?
Guys, when we talked to Dawn Staley, she mentioned exactly what you just said, Debbie, that Aaliyah Boston sees the floor so well, almost like a guard. And when we talked to Aaliyah, she said she feels like growing up in St. Thomas and playing a lot of international basketball helped her to see the game differently. She said, I saw the ball moved in a different way when I was there versus when I came to the U.S. But at the end of the day, it's very rare that you see a team that plays through their post player the way that South Carolina does on both ends of the floor. Aaliyah Boston makes the decisions. She often makes suggestions on how to play defense and has really just been the eyes, if you will, for this game team.
And it's not just on offense, it's on the defensive end as well, China, because she'll call out their ball screen defense. She'll call out different schemes that they run on the defensive end. And you got to have somebody on the back row that understands all that, kind of like a center under the quarterback.
She has a couple of triple doubles to her credit. Speaks to her versatility. You know, those coming with block shots. Collier barely caught iron. Everything contested, Debbie, or they got to put a little bit more arc on it. They're a little bit more rush to get it off.
Well, so far Charlie Collier hasn't gotten to the block with 2 feet in the paint. Everything has been facing up, and part of that is because Boston worked so hard to push her up the lane and doesn't want her to catch it in that prime real estate under the basket.
Offensive foul on me here. So much of that work for the bigs has to be done before they even see the ball or touch the ball, right?
There's no question about it. And Ami here, who is very aggressive with a quick first step right here. Warren beats her to the spot. You got to referee the defense, and that's 2 on Ami here.
She was a big spark for them off the bench in the Sweet 16. 15.7 rebounds. Destiny Littleton, the junior from San Diego, is on now for South Carolina. Celeste Taylor to Warren. Warren and Collier, the only 2 Longhorns with a basket here in the quarter. And they've only got 2 of them. Beal.
And that was a good defensive play by Beal. Moved her feet, helped out on the penetration, makes a good decision on this end of the floor.
Boston off the mark. Final minute of the first quarter. Winner is headed to the Final Four at a national semifinal on Friday night. Opponent to be determined. Stanford and Louisville, our second game of the evening.
Texas loves that dribble drive here, Beth.
Beal gets a block. 8 on the shot clock.
And you've got that small lineup on the floor. Well, they've got 2 post players out there, but Aaliyah Boston and Victoria Saxton can both switch on all that dribble drive action if they need to, because they can guard the perimeter.
Alan Taylor gets into the lane again and draws the foul. That's going to be on Destiny Littleton. Well, the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship Elite 8 continues tonight on TBS. You can stream the games on your March Madness Live app. Also go to ncaa.com for all the latest on all 90 NCAA championships just underway. Gonzaga with the early lead over USC tonight.
Vic Schaefer told me about the dribble drive and where he learned it. Vance Wahlberg is basically considered the father of the dribble drive, and he drove from Starkville, Mississippi to Atlanta to meet with Vance, Coach Wahlberg, to spend 6 hours with him, learning the dribble drive so he could incorporate it into what he did at Mississippi State, and he does it here at Texas as well.
His first year in Austin, back where he was born, and spent a lot of his coaching days before getting 2 trips to the Final Four at Mississippi State. Boston, nice spin to the left side.
You know, she has such great balance in traffic. She's always playing in a crowd, but she has great footwork inside.
Lambert off the cross, gets it up and in. Final seconds of the quarter. Good if it goes. And an 18-7 lead for South Carolina through 10 minutes.
Victoria Saxton for the Gamecocks. Wheeling and dealing in the paint.
Run me my money. Hook 'em. Great game, ladies. Incredible game.
Welcome back to the Alamo Dome. That was Drake enjoying the NCAA Women's Tournament, cheering on Texas with their victory the other day over Maryland. And he wasn't the only eyes on our tournament. The U.S. women's soccer team has showed up here in cutout form. Megan Rapinoe, Crystal Dunn, all of the faces we're familiar with. And Megan Rapinoe's gotten into the tournament. You see the tweets there. She's talking about Paige. She's talking about Arie McDonald. Great support also for a good cause, as we know. The purchase of those cutouts from our women's soccer team. That's awesome to see, guys.
Yes, yes, the women's soccer team going to be on our air next month as they head to Europe. There's a bucket for Audrey Warren, but you can catch the national team April 10th and 13th on ESPN2. Where is the women's basketball team, Debbie? They better pass the collection plate. Tonight's the last night to buy the cutouts.
I mean, the national team coach is here over there in Dawn Staley. I mean, don't they want a little extra playing time or something? I mean, come on.
Aren't they here in town practicing,
Can't you suck up to the head coach?
Getting ready for the Olympics this summer, where they're going to try for their 6th straight gold medal. Beth Bowen, Stevie Antonelli, LaChina Robinson, our first game of the night. We are sending 2 teams to the Final Four to join UConn and Arizona. Cats are there for the first time in school history. 13 in a row for Connecticut.
Good hustle by Warren to save the basketball.
See if the
another chance here.
Longhorns can get some rhythm on offense. They had just 3 field goals in the first quarter. Some really good defense from Carolina, and Ebo just walked with it.
Well, Joanne Allen-Taylor has done a nice job reading that screen on the elbow and trying to snake behind it. That time, she pitches it back to Ebo, who is capable from 15.
These Gamecock defenders are so long. They're so athletic. They get off the floor quick. Lee Cook on the drive. High off the window.
Zy Cook's been their leading scorer all season long.
The counter from Texas.
And this is the small lineup on the floor to counter the small lineup for Texas. Anytime Aaliyah Boston's out and you go with 4 guards.
So here comes Charlie Collier. This is the issue for Texas. They want the consistency of the Bradley and Maryland games and not the Baylor and UCLA games. They're going to need her scoring moving forward if they want to advance. Debbie, just 4 points in the first quarter.
She's got to work her way to the block, I think, Beth. She's got to put some pressure on that front row. And as soon as Collier comes in the game, Aaliyah Boston comes in as well. So it's a nice matchup to keep your eye on.
Well, guys, I thought it was interesting how these 2 coaches approached that particular matchup. Dawn Staley said point blank, Aaliyah Boston has to win the matchup with Charlie Collier. She was very direct about that. But on the other end of things, Vic Schaefer said, hey, there's 5 players on the floor. This is not about Charlie versus Aaliyah. He said, obviously he was excited about the balance his team has shown on the offensive end and that she wouldn't have to do it all herself. So very interesting to see the different approaches from those coaches in the matchup.
She went right to the matchup. He said we got to win more matchups.
Well, there was a tendency during February, I'd say, where South Carolina got away from Aaliyah Boston getting touches, meaning the guards were taking too many shots, and that's not a good recipe for them to be able to win a national championship.
Henderson misses. Saxton misses again. A couple of gimmies won't go. Celeste Taylor. She She had a 24-point game in the UCLA win. Terrific change of direction to cut to the right.
Good play call. Clear out the weak side. Take the help away. Snake behind that step-up screen. Beautiful.
Boston, they've missed 3 layups in a row.
When you keep the ball in the middle third, Beth, and you run plays down the lane line, it's really hard to help from the weak side.
Cook lowered the shoulder, offensive foul on Zaya. That will be her first.
Well, you got to referee the defense here. Does she push off? She's trying to get her hips and shoulders by, but did she lower her shoulder to push off and make contact? Was that offense-initiated contact?
Celeste Taylor has hit a couple in a row. Vic Schaefer raves about her tenacity and her toughness, and right now she is working hard to get the Longhorns back in it.
So, Beth, you know, when you make back-to-back mistakes, you allow the other team to get right back in it. So now Texas is feeling a little wind here, right? I mean, they got to keep attacking and run what works.
They turn people over better than anybody in the Big 12, and for South Carolina ball security would be the one oops of their postseason so far. Collier, mid-range.
That's a really good connected defensive effort. Boston helps on the roll. She gets help on the pop. Or helps on the penetration.
Collier and Boston. Wamano in the lane right now. And now Aaliyah will step away. Tried to track it down, and Warren has it.
What a good effort by Warren to box out a taller defender on the glass.
Longhorn fans sensing a little momentum shift. Making some noise for Kyra Lambert. 3 buckets in a row on the last 3 possessions.
So Texas doing a really good job of spacing the floor right now, playing off that ball screen in the middle third.
Playing through the post. There's Boston. Collier getting the armbar right on her. Boston fouled.
You think Aaliyah Boston is taking to heart that one-on-one matchup with Charlie Collier? I mean, she's clearing people out and saying, go, get away, don't bring another screen, watch. She's like, get out of the way. I got this one-on-one. She draws a foul to get to the free throw line.
First on Collier. Last year's National Freshman of the Year, one of the most highly touted recruits of the class. She follows it up with the SEC's Co-Defensive Player of the Year honors and an AP First Team All-American nod. That's not 10 players, that's only 5. And she was on the short list.
She's incredibly talented and only a sophomore.
Gets it back up to a 9-point lead. Taylor attacks her and draws the foul.
See, one of the things Dawn Staley told us today is, if my guards don't keep Texas in front, I continue to put pressure on Aaliyah Boston in the second row to have to defend, like that play right there. When you don't keep them in front and you allow them to play downhill, meaning you move your feet, try not to let them penetrate, Boston has to be on that second row ready to defend the rim.
Taylor just a 59% free throw shooter on the season. What a lineup we have for you Sunday. It's another NBA showdown between LA's finest, the Lakers and the Clippers at 3:30 Eastern on ABC. Then on ESPN, the NCAA Women's National Championship game at 6. And late night baseball for you from the West Coast with the Sox and the Angels. NBA opening day coming up this week.
Texas picking up full court pressure. Off the free throws.
5 minutes to go here in the first half.
South Carolina has gone away from Victoria Saxton in that Audrey Warren matchup when they won early.
Cook with a strong pull-up for 2. She's got 8. They jumped out to the early lead, have been up by as many as 13 points here in the first half.
House in the house.
Good job on the switch there by Saxton to box out Collier. Whistle off the ball. Here's going to be Warren grabbing hold of Boston. We've got 4:16 to go in the first half. Elite 8 showdown, leaning Carolina the first.
Coming up on the halftime report presented by AT&T 5G, Maria Carolyn and Andy Landers will be here with you. We've seen Texas go on a 6-0 run in the second quarter. South Carolina, a 10-0 run in the first. What have you seen so far?
Texas guards are carrying the load. Where's Collier?
Well, you got Saxton and Boston inside. I don't know if Texas wants any of that smoke.
Victoria Saxton, 4 for 4 in the first quarter. Not bad. We will see you at halftime, Beth.
Points worth the smoke, in fact, for Boston and Saxton. Thank you, Maria. Collier just 1 of 5 shooting, 2 points, a couple of rebounds. So advantage South Carolina, and it's showing up on the scoreboard as we approach the 4-minute mark. Everything's coming in the paint. They've got more paint points than Texas has total points here in the first half.
And see, that's what I love about the way Dawn Staley understands her personnel. Get Beal a touch. She hasn't had a chance to score, and although she values other parts of her game, you give Beal an opportunity for an easy one in a matchup that she can win.
Collier gets the bounce.
Sometimes it's all about the quality of the catch. Good quality of the catch for Beal, good catch inside for Collier.
Cook pulls up at the free throw lane. I mean, they've been so good off the bounce, David, that they haven't even thought about shooting a 3 here in the first half.
I mean, come on, Beth, 2 hard dribbles to the nail, pull-up jump shot. Cook's done that a million times.
Everything off the bounce and deep into the lane for Carolina. Ebo with Boston defending, and a 3-second violation. Two officials had that one.
And a good adjustment right there, because all Saxton wanted to do was jump out on that hedge, but the dribbler carried her further up the floor. So she stayed with a switch, and they recovered on the backside very nicely by catching the roll. It's an excellent job by South Carolina defensively.
Vic Schaefer was ready to throw some full court pressure on here to try and shake things up a little bit. This Texas defense that was so good against Maryland.
Are you kidding me? How many teams can inbound it to their 6'5"? Dawn Staley puts everybody else away from the ball. What a play!
Says, all right, we don't have a 3 yet. Let me remedy that. Bang!
5 threes in the last game for Zia Cook.
Lost out to Texas A&M last game of the regular season. It cost them the regular season title, and the sting of that has been a propellant into the NCAA tournament. I think rolled over Mercer, and Oregon State beat Georgia Tech in the Sweet 16. Everybody getting involved.
Really important 2.5 minutes here.
Saxton, the pick, the roll, the lay-in, the timeout, Texas.
I think Vic Schaefer has to, because South Carolina has made their last 5 shots, and this is an important stretch right here. A 16-point lead for South Carolina. And Vic Schaefer's got to try to get his team to get this thing back down to single digits. No help inside. Hard hedge by Collier, and a shooter in the corner, so you can't tag with that strong side shooter. That could be fatigue right there, Beth.
The first of our doubleheader tonight, still to come. The overall #1 seed in the tournament, the Stanford Cardinal, getting set to take on the 2 seed in the Alamo region, the Louisville Cardinals. And 2 of the terrific tacticians in the game. The all-time wins leader, Tara Vanderveer for Stanford, Jeff Walls for Louisville. They will vie for the final spot in the Final Four. Henderson, offensive foul. Tried to get a little too cute with the pass and ran right into Lambert. Her first.
Better decisions at a faster rate of speed, maybe. Destiny Henderson was looking over her shoulder, trying to find somebody to get the ball to.
Stanley looking for a jump stop on that particular breakaway. Collier, where they had someone on the front side, someone sneaking around the backside of her. Cook, looking on Taylor.
They go 1-4 low on purpose to see if they can get her to the mid-range.
The offense has been a mystery for Texas so far. They have just 8 baskets in this first half. And they're going to call the offensive foul on Collier, backing into Saxton.
Low man wins. Watch Collier fight for position right here. You got a referee displacement. And did she extend her arm? Is that why? She goes with a swim move. Oh, that was a shot in the chin.
There's the second foul on Collier, and then the pass goes awry. Of the first half. And the steal. Saxton having herself a night as she steps into the passing lane. She's got a dozen in the first half.
She's exactly the kind of teammate you want to have as a counter to Boston. Quiet, humble, resilient, and hardworking.
7-0 run. Boston gets a hand in the passing lane. Here comes Cook to the left side. Missed it. And how about the big girl trailing? Couldn't hold on. And now Taylor comes out. Shot clock is off. Vic wants 1. They need something positive to happen here to take into the locker room with them.
They're going to go with a late ball screen. In the middle third, they've been getting some success here in the mid-range. Right there, attacking Boston.
1 for 3, and it goes.
Big bucket. Really big bucket for Texas to go into the locker room.
Boost for the Horns before the break. They still find themselves down 15. Collier 4 points on just 2 of 8 shooting. As the battle inside definitely goes to Carolina through the first 20 minutes. 20 more to go for a spot in the Final Four. Texas with 22 points total. South Carolina better than that just in the paint with 24 of their 37 inside. And this is the shot chart for Charlie Collier. We were talking about how important she was going to be tonight, Debbie, and at 6'5", she does not have a shot on the block.
Well, she's got to work to get to the inside because I think she needs to put some pressure on the post-up defensive game of South Carolina. And here's the thing about Charlie, Beth. She hasn't drawn any fouls on anyone for South Carolina, and she has 2 personal fouls herself. So she's got to find that balance between being aggressive. And we heard what Aaliyah Boston said to LaChina going to the break. She's going to work herself back to the block to be a little bit more dominant inside.
Boston with 8 points. Saxton has 12. Jaya Cook with 13 to lead the Gamecocks, who are 20 minutes away from a 4th trip to the Final Four in the last 6 years.
Vic Schaefer changing up his D a little bit to try to protect Charlie Collier on that end of the floor.
Excuse me, 3rd trip to the Final Four. Winners of the 2017 National Championship. Audrey Warren couldn't get that to go, and Saxton has the rebound. Her 8th. She's gonna flirt with a double-double tonight after that hot start. And there is Boston getting inside, another opportunity, and Collier kept her hands straight up. Floater won't go from Celeste Taylor, and Bree Beals got it. Austin drops it off for Henderson and got by Collier down low.
Really tough to defend that because you got to jump to the ball, and Destiny Henderson cuts to score off that handoff. Just a nice play.
Celeste Taylor blocked by Beal. Got a piece of it from behind, and Cook will be called for the travel. Just underway, 3rd quarter. Texas with its work cut out. They were able to come back in the Maryland game after they got down early.
Well, that's a couple of times Vic Schaefer coming out of the locker room has tried to ISO Audrey Warren against Victoria Saxton on both elbows. Coach Schaefer digging deep into that playbook.
Trying to get something going on the offensive end.
Again, the 6'5" pressure reliever.
Yeah. Henderson, in and out. Offensive rebound and a foul. That'll be the 3rd on Charlie Collier. And Collier will have to depart. Lauren Ebo comes back in.
Well, we've seen Texas during this season struggle to find a W when Collier doesn't produce a double-double. 4 points, 3 blocks, but also 3 fouls. And again, hasn't drawn any fouls on the front line of South Carolina.
Well, we thought this might be an X-factor type of stat. Collier has fouled out of games 7 times this year. Aaliyah Boston has not fouled out of any, and so it is Collier the first one into trouble.
Well, Lauren Ebo has been terrific for Vic Schaefer, especially in the postseason.
Yep.
So let's see if she can challenge the interior a little bit. She's a different body inside for Texas.
Joanne Allen-Taylor hits the pull-up. You want to talk about a warrior. She has played more minutes than anyone in D1 this year. Boston missed the chippy. Everything but the finish on that execution. 1 for 3, and that's good.
That's a great secondary option. They run that pass through, and Warren gets her feet behind the three-point line. She hit a 3 going into the halftime as well.
He's got 10 to lead the way for Texas.
I think Saxton overhelped on that.
Henderson, short. Texas trying to make a run. Lambert. Talked to Vic Schaefer about Lambert's ability to manage a game, to manage situations, to make the right reads. Beal making life tough on Celeste Taylor.
Boy, they're going a little ISO here in the second half. Several plays that Vic Schaefer has called, and they're good sets. They've just got to make the shots.
South Carolina opens up the half just 1 for 9. That's got a window of opportunity open here for Texas if they can knock some down.
What was that you said before? Dance with who brung you? Right?
Dance with who brung you?
That was a reference to Texas, but same for South Carolina about Aaliyah Boston. I bet she gets a touch on this one.
Eagles pushed her all the way out to the top of the key on the catch. Anderson pass picked off. 2-on-1 break. Alan Taylor back to Taylor for the lay-in.
There will be stretches in the game for Dawn Staley where Destiny Henderson just doesn't stick to the game plan. And when that happens, you upset the head coach, one of the best point guards in the country. Now, if you're a point guard and you make Dawn Staley upset, you are going to hear it.
How about a 7-0 Longhorn run to force the timeout? Welcome back to the NCAA Championship presented by Capital One. Countdown now 3 days to the Final Four. The pregame show on Friday night just before 6 Eastern. Then our doubleheader of semifinals for you, building towards the championship game Sunday night 6 Eastern for the national championship.
13 consecutive trips for UConn and Coach Auriemma, and if you have not seen Paige Beckers, you should check her out in this matchup right here with a two-time All-American Arie McDonald, who has been unguardable in this tournament, back-to-back 30-point games. Arizona a first-timer in the Final Four, and Adia Barnes, the head coach, has done a fabulous job with her team in building to this point.
Big digits for McDonald and Beckers. We have confirmation now, by the way, Debbie, for UConn and Arizona fans. Your game will be the late game, the second semifinal on Friday night. So the winner of this one will play in the first semifinal as the Longhorns had a 9-0 run.
Tell you what, I'm not sure anybody works harder than Vic Schaefer, and the job he has done. We talk about being builders. He is way ahead of schedule in his first year at Texas to get them to this opportunity in the Elite Eight.
Henderson hits the three, and that ends the drought for South Carolina. Texas trying to make this push with Charlie Collier on the bench. She's out with 3 personal fouls. Picked up a third early in this second half, and a whistle and a foul. Or no, check that. Did Texas call a timeout? Under 4 to play. Back to the Alamo Dome in a moment. Time is running out, folks. If you want to join us with our fan cutout program supporting the K-Out Cancer Fund, the Pat Summitt Foundation, and the San Antonio Food Bank, tonight's the night. For more information, go to ncaa.com/WFF cutouts. We're all sinking down in our seats. It's been a long week here in San Antonio.
Did Andy Landers look like he was surrounded by security up there? I mean, he's right next to Peck and Maria. Yeah, he needs a little bunkered in, right? Yeah. You could pay a little extra and you can sit next to Beth.
Hey, that's an expensive seat right there. Texas trying to make a run at South Carolina with a big third quarter, and Henderson is fouled on the drive.
I've been sitting next to you for, I don't know, 20 years. It's not that big of a deal.
I don't get paid enough to sit next to you all these years. The story has been the interior scoring of South Carolina, and not just with Boston, but with Saxton as well. Zia Cook has been a terrific counter on the outside.
Yeah, it's balance, and there's a rhythm to it. And if you can't change your D and you can't change, your cadence offensively, then you can't change the rhythm of the game. You have to be able to play multiple ways to be able to win a championship. And I think South Carolina has a lot of those tools.
Warren drives on a knee here, gets the shot blocked, and it will head the other way. Cook crosses into the paint, too much traffic, she'll bring it back out.
You want to stay aggressive, but you do want to manage the clock and manage the game a little bit right here. I mean, you've done a good job defensively holding Texas to 31 points.
Yeah, the defensive effort has to make Dawn very happy thus far. The air ball there. Warren looking for another three, and she's got it.
I like that by Vic Schaefer a lot because South Carolina in drop coverage on that ball screen, which means the screener's defender is sitting in the lane, so you're always going to have that throwback. And especially when you turn the corner like you want to get to the paint, then you really engage that screener's defender.
Warren's 3 for 3 out there. Ebo, the foul committed on Aaliyah Boston. It's already the 4th foul that Boston has drawn in the game as they try and push her away from the block. Ami here in the right place at the right time. Picked up the loose ball. Under 2 to play in the 3rd quarter.
Same set. This time Ebo rolls.
Taylor picks off the outlet and then misses the J. Bree Beal got too far underneath. Bad look there for South Carolina. And Dawn Staley just sits back in her chair and takes a deep breath.
Crosses her legs and decides to let that one go.
Universal sign for, oh my goodness. Taylor blocked. Ami here. Wide open Ami here and a blown assignment.
Vic Schaefer built a powerhouse in his 8 years at Mississippi State, Beth. I mean, 2 national championship games, one that he lost to South Carolina. I mean, what an incredible job, and very sought after by Texas to come here and get it back like Jody Conrad.
Goodness, Zaya Cook steps through over her head with the reverse. For Cook, it's a 6-0 run, so South Carolina responds to the Texas push.
22 counter! 22 counter!
Boy, those are fun ones to watch, and when we talked to Dawn Staley earlier today, you know, she talked about how much fun she's been having around this team and the way that they have come together, the push in the preseason. She actually called herself basketball's Benjamin Button. She said, I don't feel old, I feel younger every day with this group.
Except for those knees reminder once in a while.
10 minutes away from a spot in the Final Four. Carolina getting closer, Debbie.
Been fun to be here. Been a run like that.
Tonight's Capital One, a rewarding performance. Zaya Cook, 15 points. Good shooting, Debbie.
Well, she did a great job of letting the game come to her. That you knew they were going to establish Boston inside, which they did. And then Zaya Cook, who's led them in scoring all year, 7 for 13 from the floor. No trips to the free throw line yet, but she's got a couple of assists and 4 rebounds to go along with it.
LaChina?
When we talked to Dawn Staley and asked her about Zia Cook, she said, I don't know if I've coached a player that plays harder than they need to play, because that's how bad she wants it sometimes. And when I asked about what Zia's motivation is, she said Zia's from the mud. They call Toledo the mud, and referencing her humble beginnings back home. And she said she wants to make it out. She puts everything into that and puts a lot of pressure on herself. But she said, I love coaching her because I can't coach kids that aren't motivated. You have to want to be the best. She said Zia has that. And as she described Zia, I was thinking about Dawn Staley in the same way. Her upbringing, her wanting to make it out, and it was just really a special moment to hear her almost talking about herself in that way.
Of course, Dawn's roots in Philadelphia and her journey through the University of Virginia into the WNBA. Of course, now not only the coach at South Carolina, but also the U.S. Olympic team this summer.
In 20-plus seasons as a head coach, Dawn has only had 3 losing seasons, and you can see what she's done at South Carolina. I mean, from her first team when she had Courtney Newton and Sharnae Stevens on that team, and then the next year she got Kelsey Bone and, you know, Ashley Bruner, who was a 6-foot-nothing post player inside that was tough as nails, and Dawn has built it the right way.
And as China, you can speak to, you know, how much of a mentor she's been for a lot of the up-and-coming young coaches like Adia Barnes, who we're going to see at the Final Four.
Yeah, when you talked to Dawn Staley earlier today about Adia Barnes and just her journey, you know, she was saying those of us that have been former players, whether it's college or WNBA, like we really just have a feel for this. You know, we've been in those situations. They can help to guide players on what they need to know. And, you know, to have 2 former WNBA players on the verge of going to the Final Four is really special, former WNBA players, and you know, she just really reflected on the importance of that.
LaChina, I believe for the social media and the youngsters, it was "she can go deeper in her bag" is the quote.
That's it.
Take that and run with it.
Hey, if you're 50 and you got that kind of swag, like all those impressive numbers that Dawn has, and I think about her being 50, I can't believe she's 50 years old.
There's no...
Seems hard to believe.
She's one of the elder statesmen now. National Coach of the Year last year. All Carolina so far.
The NCAA Women's Championship is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet?
NCAA Women's Elite 8 coming up next. The last spot in the Final Four up for grabs. Dana Evans, the 2-time ACC Player of the Year, coming off a career-high 29-point performance to bust out of a slump. The 2-seed Louisville will take on the top seed and the overall #1 Stanford Cardinal.
Can't wait to see the offense of Dana Evans versus the lockdown defense of Anna Wilson for Stanford, the senior. That's going to be an interesting matchup to keep your eye on. And Stanford, of course, the overall #1 seed in the tournament.
On the catch and the missed layup. I'm excited, too, to check out some of the freshmen. We've talked a lot. America has watched Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark and some of the others. Cameron Brink for Stanford. Haley Van Lith, Olivia Cochran tonight for Louisville. This is an outstanding rookie class.
Oh, the talent in the women's game. The product is so good. And Dawn Staley has another great recruiting class coming in. She's already got 6 McDonald's All-Americans on this team. She's going to get 4 more next year. That's 10.
Oh, are we calling them the franchise now? Is that enough for a franchise?
Tell you what, I live in the state of South Carolina, and Dawn Staley has done a lot of wonderful things in the state. I think she could run for governor and win. I mean, I think she's that impressive. She's been a change agent, excuse me, in many different ways inside our state.
The program that has been built, the fan base, they're packing the house. I think if we can get a shot of it, she's wearing her John Thompson t-shirt tonight in honor of the former late head coach at Georgetown that so many African-American coaches saw as a trailblazer. Her dear friend who also passed recently, John Chaney from her days in Philadelphia.
Guys, I talked to Dawn Staley actually about something she's been doing recently. She's a part of a group of coaches from the Philly area called the 12 Inches Group, and it's a coaches development forum where they get on Zoom once, sometimes twice a week, and just talk about what they're experiencing. Most of them are coaches of color and are wanting to be head coaches, and they just have an open forum for like 3 or 4 hours, even sometimes till 1 in the morning, as Dawn Staley mentioned to us, just talking through things and using a mentoring kind of program. But she was really proud of some of the things they've been able to do. There's coaches on the men's side, there are women that are involved, but that group is actually here today. We weren't able to find them, but Dawn just does so much that people don't know about for Philly, for communities of color. She is just a leader and a pioneer in so many ways.
Now in her 13th season at South Carolina. 6.5 minutes to play. The defensive performance tonight has been special. Texas has missed its last 10 shot attempts.
Well, we mentioned it early about Texas, you know, coming off that huge emotional win, knocking off Maryland, and that historic defensive performance against one of the best offenses the women's game has ever seen. I mean, Maryland was averaging 92 points a game, and it's a huge upset. And they played so well and so hard. And that's the calling card for Vic Schaefer. I mean, and he lives it. You know, he sleeps in the office once a week at home when he's in Austin. He's dedicated to helping his players as well become better and better people.
Well, he's so proud of the way that the team adjusted to all the changes. You know, everybody, as Amihir scores off glass, everybody going through the pandemic. And for these Texas players, not only a new world with all the social justice initiatives, a new head coach, a new way of doing things around the program, a new system on the court. He says he could not be prouder of the way that this group came together and made a deep run in the tournament. Trying to become just the 3rd team ever to beat a 1, a 2, and a 3 seed in the same region to reach the Final Four. And coming up short here against the top seed. And South Carolina looking very much like one. Still possible that there could be 3 number 1s. Arizona's already there as a 3 seed. And if you've been following the women's game over the years, you realize it's top heavy. It's only in the history, you know, 4 decades now, only the ones and 2s and 3s are the only ones that have ever won a national championship. Very hard to break through at the top.
Well, and there's a lot of new things about this year's tournament, including the S-curve, which means geography was not a factor in seeding. And that's something that's never happened in the women's game. That's a new exciting opportunity to speak to the balance and the growth of the game in terms of the product.
Yeah, a number 1 seed has won 29 of the 39 national championships. That would bode well for a South Carolina or a UConn or a Stanford. Under 5 to go. Lob over the top for Amihir, who has picked up her game after she had 3 fouls in her first 3 minutes on the floor. Now she's got 8 points, 4 boards, an assist.
And this is what Amihir can do. She does a great job again. It's that matchup. Audrey Warren has been stuck on the 4s all night in that small lineup. And it's a tough challenge when you're undersized inside. And Amihir can change the pace, Beth. I mean, she comes in the game. She's quick and explosive. She makes her moves and her counters much quicker than anybody else for South Carolina on the block.
Yeah, they have held Texas scoreless here in the 4th quarter. Reminder, coming up next, Kiana Williams, I think, she's over on the court, getting some shots up, getting ready. 16 points per game, outstanding from beyond the arc. As the Stanford Cardinal will take on the Louisville Cardinals, the top 2 seeds in the Alamo region.
I mean, this game should be up and down. Both these teams, Stanford and Louisville, have outstanding offensive habits in their transition game. They run the floor hard and they run it wide, and that opens up the court, and they've got plenty of balance to score.
And guys, looking at that bracket, I know we were talking a little bit about this earlier, but if Adia Barnes and Dawn Staley make it to the Final Four, we believe it's the first time that 2 black women have both been head coaches of programs in the Final Four. So a historic moment in that way, as well as we talk about social justice and some of the other things that are happening in our country, seeing what these coaches have done with their opportunity. And when you look at both of their staffs, they also have future head coaches in waiting. Is Jolette Law, one who's done a fantastic job with recruiting, as you guys talked about earlier with the class coming in, and then Johnny Harris for Texas, as you know, Debbie, has just been wonderful for Vic Schaefer.
Yeah, Johnny Harris gets a lot of credit from head coach Vic Schaefer, because he says he couldn't do any of it without her. And I've known Johnny for a long time, all the way back to when she was at NC State on Kay Yao staff. And she is an incredibly classy individual who does a great job mentoring these young women and coaching them up.
Me here gets another bucket to get into double digits. Of course, if you've been around the Louisville program and spent some time with Jeff Walls, you know nobody likes to crash a party more than Jeff does. And he would love to prevent the top 2 winningest coaches of all time from getting together in the Final Four. Tara Vanderveer and Gino Ariema both passed the legendary head coach Pat Summitt to the top 2 spots. Of course, Pat passed Jody Conrad, the legendary head coach at Texas, responsible for the very first undefeated season to win a national championship in 1986. And there she is. She had a freshman, by the way, that was the most outstanding player of the Final Four that year, Clarissa Davis.
She also had Andrea Lloyd, and she also had Cammie Etheridge, and there's some great players in Texas, a lot of those names in the Hall of Fame.
Davis and Brianna Stewart, the only 2 freshmen to win MOP, as we think about somebody maybe like a Paige Beckers that could win it this year. You think of Tamika Catchings with the 3 Meeks at Tennessee. How about Christy Tolliver in the 2006 national championship game? One of the most iconic shots ever. The 3-pointer to send it to overtime.
You know, Dawn Staley played in 3 Final Fours in her days at Virginia for Debbie Ryan. She's the only person that was the most outstanding player in a Final Four that did not win the title. That's how good Dawn Staley was back in the day. I'm sure Tammy Reese would appreciate a shout out right now while we're talking about Dawn Staley, her backcourt.
How about that backcourt? That one will go out of bounds and stay with South Carolina.
So Beth, when I look at South Carolina, I have my own checklist in my mind about, you know, can they win the national championship with this group? And they absolutely could. As Aaliyah Boston hits the bench, they play inside out with size, they rebound, they can defend 1 through 5, they can score 1 through 5. They have a certain chemistry about them, and they certainly have the leadership at the top that knows how to do it, having won the championship in 2017, and I think that matters.
They would be looking at either Stanford or Louisville in the national semis, with UConn and Arizona on the other side of the bracket, as Boston will collect herself. 10 points, 8 rebounds. Saxton, a dozen points and 8 rebounds. 12 for Henderson. Me here in double figures, and Zaya Cook leading the way with 15 points. So a balanced effort for South Carolina. The defense just suffocating. They still have not allowed Texas a basket or a point in the 4th quarter.
Well, both coaches empty their bench. Gives from some other players at work and practice a chance to play. Elisa Wieselek for South Carolina, and Olivia Thompson check in.
Terrific hand from the Texas fans for Kyra Lambert, the grad student from right here in San Antonio. Did a fabulous job in the backcourt this postseason. That shot is sent back. And Russell for the bucket. That one's denied. Amir gets him another possession.
You can hear Vic Schaefer still coaching up his kids, working on every possession, getting ready. Hasn't had the off-season workout with him in the summer that most coaches get, most teams didn't. But when you're taking a new job, it's a little more challenging. That's why they're way ahead of schedule.
Yep. Terrific season for Texas. A lot of momentum into next year. And you know, when you arrive in the Big 12, you got to be ready to take on the Baylor Lady Bears, who have dominated that league now 11 years running, the Big 12 champs. Of course, there'll be a coaching change as well at Oklahoma this offseason. Congratulations to Sherry Cole on her retirement and best wishes. What a job she did to get that program to a Final Four here in San Antonio with Stacey Dales and company.
Courtney Paris.
Yeah.
And Ashley. Can't forget about Ashley Paris.
Diana Gaston into the lineup here for Texas. So is Ashley Chevalier. And there is Ashley on the drive. And we are into the final minute.
But for Vic Schaefer to be able to give his team and program right now a taste of what it feels like at this level to compete against one of the best in South Carolina is going to go a long way in the offseason in their workouts. Serve as motivation and also some sort of standard for what you need to do and how hard it is to get here.
So South Carolina will join UConn and Arizona in the Final Four in the national semifinals on Friday night. UConn-Arizona will be the late game. And South Carolina will watch the nightcap tonight to find out who their opponent will be in the early games. Stanford and Louisville still to come. And the shot clock is now off. South Carolina holds Texas scoreless in the fourth quarter. And a dominant performance for the Gamecocks. And they are headed back to the Final Four for the third time, seeking a second national championship. Oh, a nice moment between these two friends and rivals, Vic Schaefer and Dawn Staley. Their 16th meeting, and this one goes to Dawn, and the Gamecocks advance. They played the toughest schedule in the country this year. It steeled them. It got them ready. And another deep run for South Carolina. (62-34) your final.
And then Aaliyah.
5 players in double figures for South Carolina as they hold Texas to 34 points on 23% shooting. They blocked 14 shots tonight and dominant on both ends of the floor. Let's send it over to LaChina.
Well, Don, when we talked to you about tonight's game, you mentioned to us that this can often be the hardest game to win before you make it to the Final Four, yet your team routed Texas. What does that say about this squad?
I mean, it says they're locked in. You know, obviously we didn't play perfect basketball. I mean, there's some areas in which we need to improve or else we're going to get rocked. But super proud of our players. They have been focused. They wanted the opportunity to get to the Final Four. They know nothing about what they just accomplished. But everything went into their hard work, their dedication, them believing in each other, and them just, when we got knocked down 4 times this season, you know, they got back up stronger. And that's a mark of a true champion, and I like who we're bringing into this Final Four.
Yeah, as you mentioned, many of them may not even understand the gravity of this because there was no NCAA tournament last year. You lost Ty Harris, you lost Herbert Harrigan. And what is it about the maturity of this group not having that experience that they got back here?
And I said it before, it is the leaders. The leaders, Ty Kiki last year left a legacy of leadership for them to know what it feels like. They may not know the moment or they haven't experienced the Final Four, but they know what it is to come into practice and work hard every day. They know what it is to, if you get knocked down, you get back up even stronger. They know what it is to be able to compete every single day. And I'm super proud of them. I am incredibly proud of them because, you know, it's a young team. It really is a young team that they don't even know. They haven't even scratched the surface as to how good they could be because we've gotten better and better throughout this entire season.
I know you've got a lot of support here. Your 12 inches over group, you know, USA Basketball is practicing not too far from here, but you also have your sister Tracy in the crowd and her well-documented battle with leukemia. What does it mean to have her in the building for this moment?
I got to give God the glory. You know, he's a Prince of Peace. He is a miracle worker. He's my Alpha and my Omega. And he's the reason why my sister is sitting up here in the stands enjoying herself because 6-7 months ago, you know, she was in a battle for her life. So I'm a believer of God. I'm a faithful woman. And that's coming from above. My mother, my dear mother, who is sending blessings down from heaven. My mom, Estelle Staley, we still feeling you, Mom.
Well, Coach, you're also representing Coach Thompson on your chest very well as well. Now, you said we've got to play better in the next round. I know you don't know who you're playing yet, but as you look ahead to the Final Four, what is it going to take for this team?
It's going to take some resiliency, just like we have been doing all season long. No matter who we play, we got a hard-fought battle, whether it's Stanford, whether it's Louisville. They're going to bring it. And for us, Zia Cook just walked over here and said, we're not done yet. We're happy, but we're not done yet. So I like that attitude towards a place they've never been. They only know about winning. And if they say it, I got to believe it.
Thank you so much, Coach. Congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you.